Annyeonghaseyo.
Hey,
That's hello to all my Korean people.
welcome.
I'm speaking that we're gonna get some Korean followers. I just believe it. I'm trusting
Amen.
God for it. So that was the first seed sown towards Korea. I know we have some conflict going over on that side of the world, and we're definitely praying for them. But man, I'm just looking forward to us becoming more international here
Yeah,
within Encouragement Ministries. So
we're moving
if
there. We're in
yeah,
there.
yeah, if I can learn to say hello in more languages, I think that's a step in the right direction, right? Right. So, listen, friends, we're going to go ahead and get right into this thing today. Today is day 4
Day
of the
4.
Let's Talk About series. And,
Okay.
today we're talking about relationship goals. Now this is
Goals.
anyhow. I really don't like when folks say relationship goals, or like she just said, goals. It's just
Goals.
ugh, it
Do you
it
have to do the?
pesters. Yeah, part Hebrew Jewish at times because of my bigger brother Jesus. So since he's
Amen. Yeah. So we're going to talk about relationship goals today, and we are excited.
right. So I want to go to a passage of scripture, and then my wife is going to go to a passage of scripture. We're going to read
I am.
both of them together. I'm
Mhm.
going to read mine, then she's going to read hers. So I'm in Proverbs chapter number 14, verse number 1. Again, that's Proverbs 14, verse number 1. It says, "Every wise woman buildeth her house,
Mhm.
but a foolish woman
Mhm.
tears it down with her own hands." And by it, it's talking about her house, her own house, not the wise woman. She don't tear down the wise woman house because it can't be torn down
Mhm.
because she built it wisely. But the foolish woman tears it down with her own hands.
Okay, then we're going to jump over to Genesis. No, it's not Genesis.
Exodus,
It's Exodus.
chapter number 19.
It's Exodus chapter 20.
Oh, my bad.
And in Exodus chapter 20, verse 17, it says, "Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's house, thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's wife, nor his manservant, nor his ass, nor anything that is thy neighbor's."
The thing about that, I love that reading right there. Quite simply because it goes more in detail.
It does.
Than what generally when you hear the 10 Commandments. It goes a little bit more in detail. I love that.
Mhm.
So, we're talking about relationship goals. And I've already told you all that I don't really like or ascribe to that whole goals, relationship goals. It just doesn't set well with me. Here's the reason why. I am a former athlete, maybe still sometimes athletic, but I understand that when you have a goal in mind, whether that goal is to win the game or whatever the case may be, stop the other team from scoring, you have to oftentimes make substitutions. As the coach, you have to change plays. You have to do different things in order for your team to be successful and to reach the goal
Right.
that you're trying to achieve. No business person who has a goal of reaching a certain amount of money or whatever puts their worst salesmen or salespeople out on the floor.
Mhm.
They always make substitutions till they get the right pieces, the right places, the right people. And when they get all of that going, then they can reach their goal. So here's my problem with relationship goals. Oftentimes when I see the people who are posting relationship goals, the issue that I come across is, they are people who are in these relationships with a guy who ain't trying to do no better, he's just gonna be who he is, and that's the way he's been. And you talking about relationship goals, but yet you stuck with this broke, no good fella. And it's fine if a guy is broke, but if he ain't trying to do nothing with himself, and you steady talking about relationship goals when you see Gabrielle Union and Dwayne Wade and they out on a trip, you talking about goals, but yet you with this fella who don't have no dream for his life, he don't have no drive for his life, and you talking about goals. Again, what bothers me with relationship goals is, oftentimes we're setting ourselves up for failure. We're causing problems and issues and all of that within our marriage because we start seeing what somebody else has. When we see what somebody else has, then we find ourselves in a place where we're like, man, you start looking down on what you have. And that's the problem also with goals, is that when you're looking at what somebody else has and you start coveting that or wanting that for yourself, then you start looking down and belittling what you do have instead of being appreciative for what you have. Your relationship may not be whoever's relationship, Gabrielle and D Wade, or Kristin and James's, whatever. But every relationship has its own struggles. Yeah. Every relationship has its own problems. And while you're talking about relationship goals, you know, I told y'all just the other day that I'm just getting my credit, you know, a little bit together. You know what I'm saying? And we look good, but you know what I'm saying? Like my credit it jacked up, and it's coming up. Thanks be unto God. And so, you know, some of those things are just the issues that are lacking. And so,
don't let the deception behind the post cause you to discredit everything that God has blessed you with.
Yeah. You said
it says a wise woman builds up her house. So if God has blessed you with a man or a woman, or a husband, let me say this, a husband or a wife, and he's blessed you with them and they work hard and they care about you, don't discredit what that person is doing for you and with you and in the trenches with you and struggling with you, but and discredit what they're doing because Dwayne Wade did this for his wife, or this person did that for their wife, or this person's ring is this size, and my ring is this size. Don't discredit what your husband is doing for you, because it's not the size of it, it's the heart behind it.
Absolutely.
And when you start discrediting what God has blessed you with through your spouse, then you are dishonoring God. You are discrediting the blessings that God has given you. There's some people that won't post their car, or won't post their something that God has blessed them with, because they're worried about, or they're comparing it to what somebody else had. Well, God blessed me with a used car and it's about 10 years old, and this other person got a brand new BMW, and my husband couldn't get me no brand new BMW, but he got me this used car, so I'm not gonna post it because people gonna judge me, or I want to look like I'm living this type of lifestyle. And God says no. That goes back to Exodus, where it says, thou shalt not covet. You shall not want and desire what someone else has. Be happy what God has blessed you with. Go to him and say, Lord, what do you desire for our relationship to look like? What's your goal for our relationship? Not what's my own personal goal for my relationship, because my goals may be that I want him to be a little bit more muscular, I want him to be a little bit more skinnier, or I want him to gain weight, or same thing with the man. I want her to be a little bit more shapely, because all the girls I'm following on Instagram got the little small waists and the wide behinds. But God isn't worried about that. Is this woman pushing you? Does she believe in your dreams? Does she take care of your kids? Does she pray for you? Those are the things that a wise woman does.
Right. And you know, one of the things you're talking about in there is, you know, when you look at relationship goals, right? And it talks about a wise woman builds her house. A wise woman can take little, can take what she has and just build it. Even when you look at the Proverbs 31 woman, right? She took everything that she had and she made her house great, and then her house turned and blessed her and said that she was blessed, that she was great, because she built her house bit by bit. Now a foolish woman would have looked at all them children, would have looked at all of that, looked at what the other lady had and been like, why y'all can't be more like whatchamacallit? Why and just done tore down the whole house. The kids ain't got no good self-esteem. The man don't want to come home because he don't want to hear no griping, no complaining, no fussing. And so a wise woman builds up her husband, builds up her children, and builds up everything within her house. But the foolish woman can tear it all down.
And I hear this scripture, husbands, love your wives as Christ loved the church. Because a husband, you are key to an equation. And if you're not a husband and you're looking forward to being a husband, this is your key. Build up your wife. Love on her. Make her feel secure.
Women,
pray for her. She doesn't need to always be the one praying. You need to pray for her. If you're a pastor and you're preaching to all these members, but you never give a word to your wife, that's a problem.
Yes, it
you
is.
can prophesy the house down, but you never prophesied into your wife's life.
Lord.
That's a problem. You never prayed over your wife. That's a problem. And you're wondering why she's feeling broken, or she doesn't want to do ministry, or y'all are clashing and getting into it all all the time is because she's pouring out, y'all both pouring out, but nobody's pouring in.
Yeah.
And you want her to be this, that, and the other. You want her to be the Proverbs 31, and it's possible, and those things happen in seasons, but if you are not lifting her up and building her up and appreciating her and chipping in every now and then you'll end up with the foolish woman that just say, you know what, I'm done with it. You ain't like how I want you to be, and I'm tired. I knew I shouldn't have married you anyways.
Right.
And all of that foolishness. And God is saying, I want you to get back to me.
Yeah.
I want you to get back to the basics where I do the marriage.
Yeah. And I want to encourage, there's two things. Let's deal with two things.
Yeah.
Men, again, remember that you can build up your woman.
Mm-hmm.
This isn't just what it says, every wise woman there in this passage of scripture builds a house. It's not just about women. Men can build up their houses and their women as well. I talk about it all the time. And I even said it on a post the other day. If a man loves his wife, pours into his wife, and she supports his dream, then he after she supports his dream, he then turn around and make sure that her dreams and all of that come to pass, because that's a part of building up his wife and building up his ministry. So let me encourage you, build up your wife, build up your relationship, pour into her. Don't always let her be just pouring into you. Submission is not a one-way street. It's a two-way deal. You know what I'm saying? So you feel like, oh, she need to be submissive and pour it into me and giving me all. No. Do it both ways. It goes both ways, because that's how God created submission. He said, wives, submit to your own husbands. Husbands, submit to your wives, and love your wives as Christ loved the church. So it's a two-way deal, and we have to make sure that we are loving our husbands and our wives and giving them everything that God has for them. Friends, there was a second thing there, babe. I want to touch on the scripture that Kristin read. That was the other thing. Let me talk about this. When you begin to covet, your neighbor's wives, your neighbor's belongings, there are some dangers and some things that you'll run into. There's dissatisfaction. There's depression, all this sort of thing. Jealousy,
anger, wrath.
Deal with it.
You'll fall into such a pit where you will end up in bondage. It will be like shackles around your feet, and you're trying to move forward and you can't, because you have your eyes fixed on, I gotta marry this man. I want him to see me. I want him to marry me. I gotta have it because they have it. I gotta have the big wedding. I gotta have the $10,000, $20,000, $50,000 wedding with the fancy dress, because I won't be valuable, or people won't respect me if I don't have those things. And that is not the way of the Lord. I would rather have a marriage that has been ordained by God, where my husband or my wife loves me, supports me, respects me, versus having a debt that I cannot pay, and I'm unhappy, I'm unfulfilled, because I was doing it for goals. I was doing it because I had relationship goals. I was doing it to satisfy people and for the likes. And God is saying it's time out for the likes, and I want to get you back to my love. God is calling you back to your first love, which is Him. Even I see people having dreams, and you're having dreams about this person from your past, which was your first love, or something like that, or the other, and you're feeling like, man, is that the person I was supposed to marry? And you're reaching toward it, and God is saying, no, that is not it. I am using that person in the place of me, because I am calling you back to your first love. You were in a wedding with them, not because I said that you were supposed to marry them, but because I'm calling you back into a relationship with me, and I want you to draw close to me. You may be dreaming that you're missing out on the wedding, or the wedding started without you. He is calling you back to your first love. Don't get it twisted. Don't get it twisted. We get things twisted in this life. We get things twisted. Dreams are not literal. They are figurative. They are symbolic, and it is our job to get to the Father and get understanding about that thing. I can say this because I almost did it, where I was seeing someone that I was in love with, and I thought that we were going to get married, and we were not meant to get married. God was saying, come back to your first love, because you have left me.
And again, I want to close on this note. Don't get trapped in that whole thing of having to get a big old ring, and that if it ain't that many carats, then we can't do it. No. That's not the plan of the.
Shaming them.
Do
Shaming
you have
your man.
Does he love you with the love of God? That's more important than the size of the carats or number of carats or the size of the ring, the
bigger
diamond.
The ring, the bigger
Listen,
the cover up.
if he loves you. And if he would give you the world, all the good things of the world, if he could, that's more important than a man who will go out and put himself in debt for the next 15, 10, however many years to get you this big old lavish ring that in the wedding might not even last as long as the payments on the ring. I'm just saying. Friends, listen. Babe, you got any other?
No.
All right.
Love you.
We love you. We thank God for you. Continue to like, continue to share, and remember, day 14, day 21, day 28, 6 p.m., live Facebook question and answer. We can't wait to see you there. You be blessed.
Be blessed.
Bye-bye.